All right, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, all praise, honor, and glory is to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the head apostles and elders, a great millstone. Honors to all you brothers out there that's continuing to labor in his work, pushing out this gospel in all truth, faith, and sincerity. So yeah, I just wanted to go into a quick lesson dealing with following men, all right? And the fact that it's actually a method or a strategy when following men, all right? And even when you go beyond that, you got to be willing to follow men. Because amongst Jake, all right, in this so-called black culture, it's this whole idea of, well, I'm my own man. You know, I don't have to follow no one, which that don't make any sense because in every aspect of life and everything you do, you follow in suit, all right? No one out here is reinventing the wheel, man, all right? It's always someone to come before you and lay out the groundwork, all right, or lay out the path, and then you follow it. And even when you consider these, these successful athletes, all right, let's just say like LeBron James, you get a chance to sit down with him and pick his brain, well, he gonna tell you that he patterned his game after someone else, man, all right? Or he had a mentor or someone that he followed. And another thing about being a follower, it takes a level of discernment. Why? Because you got to know who to follow. And for the sincere men here at Great Millstone, all right, we had a choice in the matter. We could have followed and one of these self-proclaimed leaders of Israel, whether it was a pastor or preacher, or some motivational speaker, Nate or Johanna. Well, we chose to follow the apostles of Great Millstone, which was a wise choice. That was discernment. But what I want to show you in this lesson, even when following whoever, it's a method to that and it's a strategy to it. You got to know how to follow, all right? So this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 7, and starting at verse 6. There's also another thing. A city is builded and set upon a broad field and is full of all good things. Yeah, and we know that this is talking about the kingdom, all right? Which the kingdom is the ultimate prize. That's what we're in this thing for, man. Verse 7, the entrance thereof is narrow and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were a fire on the right hand and on the left a deep water, and one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could but one man go there at once, right? So when you read the scriptures, you got to have a vivid picture of this in your mind, like the Apostle Gabal always going to, man. All right, so when you read this, naturally, you should have an illustration of this. You should picture a narrow path with fire and water on one side, and this path so narrow to where one man going at a time, meaning no man is side by side. You actually got a man in front of you and behind you. Now, you're naturally going to be following someone, right? So now, when you following that person, you got to follow him with a certain strategic walk, all right? You're not just following that man looking at the back of his head or looking at him, because if you're doing that, if that man take the wrong step and fall, you're going to fall as well, all right? The whole method to following men is actually to follow their steps, all right? When you picture that illustration, this scripture, walking on that path, you're not looking at the back of that head, the man's head. If you is, then you following that man. All right? What you want to do is look at his feet. You follow his steps. All right? Because if you get caught up in following that man can actually slip up and fall. And opposed, if you looking at his foot and his steps, you're going to slip up and fall just as well. So the whole point of following men is to watch them. And if they continue in the things they doing, and if it's continuing to walk that path, all right, then you keep walking behind them. But if that man make the wrong step, then that's the cue for you not to take that step, man. All right? And that's what you got to understand in this truth. The reason why we follow the apostles, or you should be following apostles, all right, is because they have took the necessary steps to get them where they at today. The scriptures tell you if this counsel be of men, it will come to naught. So when you examine all the steps, starting with the Apostle Tahar and all the great men, these different leaders, you see that they still in it, all right? They still pushing out this work. Then you follow them because you following what? They steps. You're not just following that man, all right? And me, myself, I'm set up in a situation where I'm in a position of leadership. And if any man that's behind me in the spirit, he shouldn't be following me per se. He should be following my steps, the things that I do. All right? And you not just, you watching everything that man do. If that man go off, then you take the step, a different step, man. This is not a thing of following men. All right? This is a thing of following the steps of men, which again proves that it's strategy to following. You got to know how to follow. All right? This is 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1. Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Hamashiach. See, when you read this, Paul is telling you to be a follower of him, but he said, as he is of Yahweh Shai. Meaning you're not actually following Paul, you following Paul's steps. All right? Because Paul could have easily just said, be followers of me and leave it at that. Then you would have followed whatever Paul did, whether Paul went off, all right, or Paul did something that wasn't beneficiary to the ministry or whatever the case might be. Yet you would have been following Paul. But Paul made a note of saying being followers of me as I am of the Hamashiach, man, which is Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ. Basically meaning follow my steps because I'm following Yahweh Shai, man. All right? And show you that because in reality, when you following, basically, let's just call it how it is, man, the man at Great Millstone, that's who the Spirit of the Lord rested on. If you following, starting with the apostles, all right, the elders, maybe your camp head, whoever who's following those men, then you actually following the Most High. All right, and it's the scripture. This is Ephesians 5:1. Be ye therefore followers of the Most High as dear children, right? So if Paul just told you, which this is Paul again, if Paul just told you to be followers of him, now he turned around telling you to be followers of the Most High, ultimately that's what he's telling you in the big picture, all right? He's basically just telling you to follow my steps, man, because I'm following Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All right, so when you come into the fold, all right, you come into Great Millstone or you come into one of these camps, you got a camp leader, you watch that man and you follow that man. And you're not just watching him, you know, just to watch him. You watching to see if he go off as well, man. All right? So in reality, you following his steps. Because again, when you on that path, which the scriptures made a note to say, well, one man can only enter at a time. That's another thing. You're not going to get in the kingdom just because somebody like you, man. A man say, well, oh, man, it's good. I like you, bro. You know, spirit dealing with you. Come on, man. That's not Yahweh Shai telling you that, man. You ain't straight till Yahweh Shai put that crown on your head. That's why the scriptures say, well, one man going to enter at a time, because you really working out your own salvation, man. But again, you got to follow the steps of other men, because in any walk of life, you're not doing nothing. Everything you doing, somebody else patterned before you, man. All right, you learn how to eat cereal with a damn spoon because somebody else was doing it before you got here, man. All right. So the whole point of the matter is, you're gonna follow men, but you're not actually following that man per se. You're following the steps of that man. All right. You following the steps of that man. That man made it. Oh, you examine it. Oh, this man made it this far. Let me follow what he's doing. Let me follow his steps. All right? If you telling somebody in a car, you know, and he's leading you somewhere, you tailgating him, you know, yeah, currently you could say, well, I'm following the car, but you actually following his steps. When he make a left, you making that left, man. All right? He make a right, you making that right. So you actually following his steps, his walk. Now, if that man drive and veer off into a building, is you going to drive and veer off into the building too? No. That's going to be a strategy for you not to follow that man into that building. Really, the ones that set up in front of us is strategy. That's a strategy. You got to approach it as a strategy, man. You see a guy over you, and you see him might do the wrong thing, and you say, you know what? That's off, man. He just taught me not to do that. All right? We done seen plenty of men that was in leadership roles who have fallen out of this truth. Do that mean you follow that man out of the truth? No. All right? So again, there's a method and a strategy to being a follower. You got to actually know how to follow. And it's beneficiary to you when somebody else in front of you, man. That's another thing. It's a good thing when somebody over you, man. So you can watch their steps. All right? So yeah, I hope this was an edifying lesson. Until the next time I say shalom.